Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts. This is a special episode. We got two dinosaurs to talk about, and both of them actually start with the letter U. Can you believe that? How about that? Alright, first one we're going to talk about is Udanoceratops. Udanoceratops is Greek or Latin meaning Udon, horned face. Fossils found in Central Asia, basically the Gobi Desert. Late Cretaceous, 80 to 75 million years ago. About 13 feet long, probably weighed around 1,500 pounds. Herbivore, and from what I've seen out of the skeleton out of this thing, it's actually Psittacosaur. And what some of you don't know is a Psittacosaur is basically kind of like Psittacosaurus. Basically, is an ancestor of Ceratopsians, the horned dinosaurs, and basically their bases are kind of like parrots, basically, because they have very hook-like beaks, and pretty much they're very small, and they pretty much take care of their young pretty well. Their fossils have been found some fossils have been found with taking care of their young. And so, being a small herbivore, it probably actually was quite agile for a plant eater for its size, basically, being that small. And you actually figure that it's mostly bipedal, but as pretty much with most ceratopsians, what the ancestors actually have done is that as they got larger, they pretty much have to have their center of gravity also towards their head, and that's the reason why their heads got so big, is because they needed extra support in the front limbs. So Psittacosaurs can probably use both two and four legs, just to be sure of what they're actually probably doing for locomotion. Basically, probably finding food. They would probably have been probably walking on four legs, quadrupeds, and probably to escape predators, they were bipedal, so they would probably use speed to actually get away from predators. But they could use their beaks, no doubt about it. They could use their beaks to actually snap at the predators, to say, "Stay away from me, or I could bite you." That kind of warning. And Psittacosaurus probably were feathered, probably had some quill-like feathers. Not necessarily feathers that you would actually see like in dromaeosaurs, pretty much. They would actually be quill, primitive type of feathers. And when you actually look at Udanosaurus, like Psittacosaurus, it actually has some of the same features as most ceratopsians. Basically, got very powerful jaws for crushing. Basically crushing plant matter, because they have back teeth, not really teeth in the front that much, and they actually are a pretty good and pretty interesting dinosaur to talk about. I mean, I don't know a lot about this dinosaur, so that's why I'm actually going to talk a little bit about it. But pretty much its predators would have actually been like velociraptors, and probably some other small dromaeosaurs, but I mean, juvenile tarbosaurs could actually have eaten them. But like any case, it actually is a very interesting dinosaur to talk about. And of course, they probably ate like the low shrubs, all those types of plants. But of course, extinction, pretty much climate change, that's just pretty much what the cause would be, is this climate change, and that's how Udanosaurus is actually kind of known. I don't really know a whole lot about this dinosaur, but that's okay. And the next dinosaur I want to talk about is my favorite dromaeosaur, Utahraptor. And pretty much, Utahraptor is my favorite of all the dromaeosaurs. It is the largest dromaeosaur known. And of course, the recent discovery of Dakotaraptor kind of rivals it, but even though it's not as huge as Utahraptor. Utahraptor lived in the late Cretaceous, around 120, 110 million years ago. And of course, the name meaning Utah thief in Greek or Latin. Length would actually be 24 feet long, 6 feet tall, and probably even taller, and probably weighed 1,500 pounds to possibly a ton. Now, with Utahraptor, of course, being a dromaeosaur, it has the killing claws, and with the recent discovery, Dakotaraptor's killing claw can almost rivals Utahraptor's a little bit, but Utahraptor's was probably a tad bit longer, probably a few inches longer. Now, this killing claw right here, this is a replica of a Utahraptor killing claw, which would actually be the second toe. Would be the second toe on the foot, basically the inner toe, second inner toe of the foot, and pretty much it actually does have this act. Like all dromaeosaurs, their killing claws go like this. They pretty much go like this, kind of like a switchblade. And what makes dromaeosaur claws very different is that they're very narrow and thin. So they probably did slice a little bit, but probably not too much. But even though they probably did use their claws to possibly puncture blood vessels and actually make the prey bleed to death. And that's pretty much what dromaeosaurs really, really did. Now, Utahraptor kind of actually, being the largest dromaeosaur, probably tackled sauropods. And that's probably the reason, it's one of its favorite food sources, is that it can probably take down sauropods. But probably in a pack, though. There's a discovery in Utah where probably as many as 5 Utahraptors are discovered in one single block of rock. Basically, that's pretty big, and it took a long time for paleontologists to actually figure out how they're going to get it out. And so, Dr. James Kirkland would actually have more information about that. And with Utahraptor being discovered in 1991 by James Kirkland and his team, and it was basically the killing claw was actually the discovery of Utahraptor. And what he thought at first was Deinonychus, but what he found out as he continued to excavate, his team continued to excavate the skeleton, is that the bones are actually twice as large as Deinonychus. And so you actually got a raptor that is pretty much a Deinonychus on steroids, or otherwise, like what Pete Larson said, is Velociraptor on steroids. But I would say if you give Velociraptor triple the dose of steroids, you got Utahraptor. But of course, with Utahraptor, all raptors have the same features, basically. Great eyesight, intelligent, very pretty much big brain, good sense of smell, good sense of hearing, formidable teeth, but very small, very, very small teeth. So that means the teeth were not really designed to kill that much. They really didn't use them to wound animals very much. I mean, they could try, but pretty much they actually would just be kind of scratching the hide of its prey. That would be all it would be doing. The claws are its main weapons. Hand claws are pretty huge. Because you got to figure Utahraptor having those hand claws, and I have a finger of a Utahraptor, and when you look at the claw on the finger, is pretty much, it's very blade-like. It's almost like it's like an actual blade, and you got to figure they probably did slash a bit too with their hand claws, but they're really more designed for grabbing onto the prey to help like lift itself up on the back of its prey. And of course, killing claws, has very powerful legs, could probably run pretty fast, but not as fast as some of the smaller dromaeosaurs, and a very rigid tail for balance, and also hollow bones and very bird-like skeleton. Very bird-like skeleton. And of course, with most dromaeosaurs, like Utahraptor, very delicate skeletons. So pretty much a huge blow could actually kill it. So if you actually if a sauropod actually pretty much whacks an adult Utahraptor pretty much square on the side, and it would break, pretty much that tail would actually break its arms, its ribs, its backbones, its legs. I mean, it would break every bone, almost every bone in its body. It could snap its neck too, so pretty much that's a dead Utahraptor. But usually Utahraptors are pretty careful of what they are, pretty much are very careful of what they do. As you see, their favorite point of attack is kind of almost called the slice and dice, but pretty much, or slash and dash, but pretty much that does limited amount of blood loss. So kill its prey, but it will mainly go after the neck. The neck is actually the #1 spot to actually go after to make a quick kill. And considering Utahraptor with its size, it's a heavyweight. Pretty much, if you're 1,500 pounds, you can't move very fast for a raptor, so you're pretty much more of an ambush predator, basically. But it could pursue its prey, but for a very short distance. And so you actually have a dromaeosaur that would probably be more likely to hide in the bushes or in the trees, or pretty much in the forested areas, where it could actually attack its prey in all sorts of angles. And so that's where you actually have that kind of attack, is an ambush. But if it was out in the open area, it would actually have to do a pursuit. But it would have to waste much more energy to capture its prey for pursuit. And many of you know that I've actually have Jurassic Fight Club, or actually has seen Jurassic Fight Club. Utahraptor was featured in 2 episodes, basically Top Killers, and also Raptor's Last Stand, which is basically Utahraptor versus Gastonia. Now, Gastonia did live alongside Utahraptor, but Utahraptor pretty much rarely attacked Gastonia, because Gastonia is way too heavily armored, and I mean, it could attack it if there was no food sources left, but it's risky though, because if you're attacking something that is armored as Gastonia, you're pretty much attacking something that actually has is probably like attacking a medieval mace, pretty much, that is all over somebody's body, which is basically a club with spikes, pretty much, and if it's all over the body, then pretty much it's like, where do you go? And of course, the weakness of Gastonia is pretty much its underside, pretty much like its legs, are pretty much the throat and the belly, and even underneath the tail. But Utahraptor rarely would have attacked Gastonia. It would have probably have gone after like Tenontosaurus and pretty much the juvenile sauropods, those types of animals. Now, there were giant carnivorous dinosaurs that were around Utahraptor, like Siach, one of the newest primitive Carcharodontosaurs that were discovered in North America. And so Siach would have actually been more to take on the sauropods a lot better than what Utahraptor could actually have done. But even though Utahraptor, being very intelligent, it would actually probably outsmart Siach pretty much in terms of dinosaur IQ. And so that's where you actually have the intelligence factor. And with speed-wise, Utahraptor probably would have gone between 20 to 30 miles per hour for top speed. You probably wouldn't have been as fast as like Deinonychus, which can probably go like between 30 to 40 miles per hour. So that would actually be something in consideration, is that Deinonychus would have probably been a little bit more agile than Utahraptor. And I still need to see a Utahraptor skeleton. I know there's one in Utah, and I need to go see it. So that would be pretty awesome to see. And hopefully there's like a museum that actually would have some Utahraptor replicas that could actually be shown in like a dinosaur hall, because I would love to see a Utahraptor skeleton, just to see the massive proportion of the bones compared to like Deinonychus, because that's what most paleontologists kind of do, is basically compare Utahraptor to Deinonychus, and now when you actually look closely at them, they almost look very similar. But Deinonychus is not as big as Utahraptor, not as robust as Utahraptor. So Utahraptor was probably the most robust dromaeosaur that was actually around in the time of the dinosaurs, pretty much in the Cretaceous, early mid-Cretaceous time period. And of course, the environments it could live in, it probably could live in a wide range of environments, probably from open areas to forested, but it probably would have stuck to the forested areas. And of course, the extinction of Utahraptor pretty much couldn't adapt to new changes in the environment, and also pretty much new dinosaurs coming into the mix, pretty much new dromaeosaurs, new bigger predators out there like Acrocanthosaurus, and probably some other primitive Carcharodontosaurids. And you got all those kinds of predators that would come in, and also herbivores were probably changing too. So you got like Polyxysaurus was pretty much one of the largest sauropods in North America, and so couldn't actually take down one of those unless if it was actually juvenile. And armored dinosaurs were actually becoming much more sophisticated with their armor, and also very, very difficult to actually take down. So that would have actually been really hard for Utahraptor to actually take advantage of. And of course, I would say most of the Velociraptor specimens, that most of the Velociraptors that were in Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, pretty much most of them are actually Deinonychus. But even though, you can imagine if they were Utahraptor, but even though they were Deinonychus sized, so that's how you actually got the Jurassic Park Velociraptors in Jurassic World as well. Alright, that's it for now. Now next week will actually be an answering questions episode, so if you've got a question about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochris71@gmail.com, or otherwise go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you can actually post your questions in the comments section on any Facebook post. Remember, keep your questions short and to the point. And also you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there. Also, take care of the people around you, and also for younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for good education. It's very important to have a good education. So with a good education, get a good job in the future. I hope everybody had a very good Thanksgiving, and see you guys next week.